Okay, so the 45, 45, you see those two angles, and the little box means a right angle, right? Okay, so what we are going to do is if we were to classify this again based on the angle measures, it's a right triangle. Okay, but if we were to classify it based on the lengths, what happens, what kind of triangle is it whenever we have two lengths that are the same, and then the third length is different? What's it called? Isosceles, okay? So this is it's an isosceles triangle, and it's a right triangle. So we can figure out what the side lengths are by using the formula. And what that is if we take the length of the hypotenuse is the product, so meaning multiply, of the length of the leg and the square root of 2. Now the great thing here is, guess what you don't have to do? You don't have to figure out what the square root of 2 is. You get to leave your answer. If your answer should involve the square root of 2, you get to leave it as the square root of 2. You don't have to use a calculator and figure out what the square root of 2 is. You would just leave it like that. So what that means, and we refer to in a triangle, instead of like base and height here, we refer to these as the leg. Okay, so these are the leg. So the hypotenuse equals whatever the length of the leg is times the square root of 2. Okay, so if we didn't know what it was, basically we would use x to represent the leg times the square root of 2. And so we'll be able to see what it looks like. We'll have to use this information to be able to solve the formula. We'll have to use this information to be able to solve the problem. So here's how you would use it. Baseball. The infield of a baseball field is a square with a side length of 90 feet, right? Because from home to first is 90 feet. And in between each base is 90 feet. For softball, it's 60. So, and it's a square. It makes a square. But we refer to it as a diamond because it's slanted, right? It's turned. So a player throws the ball from third base. Okay, so here, where's home plate here? So here's home plate. Okay, so they're saying that the player throws the ball from third base to first base, so all the way across the field. Or you could say the player was thrown from home to second, trying to pick somebody off the ceiling, right? So either way that you look at it, so it says how far does the player have to throw the ball? Well, because we can see right here that this makes a 45, 45, 90, okay, we can figure it out. So we're looking, here's the hypotenuse, right? There's the hypotenuse. Why? Because that's the side, the opposite of the right angle. So we're going to use the rule. The hypotenuse equals the leg times the square root of 2.
But how would we do that if you're...
You don't have to simplify it. You're not.
So it'd just be like times 2.
No, the square root of 2, because 2 and the square root of 2 are two different numbers. The square root of 2 is not 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, do we know how long the leg is? Did they tell us how long the leg is? How long is the leg? 90. Okay? So we're going to take 90 times the square root of 2. Okay, and I actually told you wrong. They do want you to simplify the square root of 2. Now, when you get to a higher level math, they're gonna let you write your answer just like this. Okay? Now, this year, they want you to go ahead and simplify it. So, how do we find the square root of 2? We take our calculator. Remember, the calculator's a little bit different. Mine is you type in the number and then you hit square root. Okay? So, I'm going to round it to the nearest thousand. So, I'm going to say that the square root of 2 is 1.414. Now, I've got to take that times 90. So then I would hit times 90, and I would get, that's 127, and I'll round 0.28. side lengths are the same. So the side opposite of the right angle is always the hypotenuse. So in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the hypotenuse is always twice as long as the shorter leg. Now can you look at this picture and see which one the shorter leg is? Is it this one or this one? That's this one. This one's shorter, right? So the hypotenuse is always going to be 2 times the length of the shorter leg. Now the length of the longer leg is the product of the length of the shorter leg times the square root of 3. So the hypotenuse equals 2 times the shorter leg, or we could say 2x, and the longer leg is going to equal the shorter leg times the square root of 3, or we would say x times the square root of 3 on that. And that information will have to be used for the 30, 60, 90 triangles. So now on example 2 it says find the value of each variable in the triangle. So we're looking at the information that we know. What kind of triangle is this? 30, 60, 90. So we need to use this information. Now, do we know which one looks like the longer leg and which one looks like the shorter leg? Is x the longer leg or the shorter leg? Okay, so we'll go ahead and write that this is the shorter leg. Is y the longer leg or the shorter leg? Longer. And then what is this right here? The hypotenuse. I'm just going to abbreviate that. Okay. So, and is that the side that's opposite the right angle? Yes. Okay. So, if I use this information up here, I can figure out what x and y is. Okay. Now, if you go back up here, what do you know about the hypotenuse and the shorter leg? The hypotenuse is what?
It's
2
times
the shorter leg. Okay, so do I know how long? Okay, so here's the formula. The hypotenuse, and I'm going to abbreviate, is 2 times the shorter leg. Now, do I know any of this information? Do I know by looking at this triangle right here what the length of the hypotenuse is? What is it? What is it? 12. Okay? And then I know that 2 is a part of the formula, right? What do I not know? Which is what? The shorter leg. Okay, so do I have a little algebra problem here? Yeah, what you're asking yourself here is 2 times what equals what? 6. Okay, so 6 equals x, which is the shorter leg. So now I know what the shorter leg is. It's 6. And all I had to do was what? Divide by 2. Now, if I know the length of the shorter leg, can I figure out what the length of the longer leg is? Yeah, what does it say? What do I know about the longer leg and the shorter leg? The longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. So I know that the longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Now, what variable is the longer leg? What letter do they use here? Y. Do I now know how long the shorter leg is? How long is it? 6. And then I know it's going to be 6 times the square root of 3. Now on this example, guess what? They let you leave it like that. They let you leave it. They let you leave it like that. Now if you wanted to go ahead and find what the square No, we didn't need our calculator for it. All right, look at number 2. Is number 2 a 45, 45, 90, or is it a 30, 60, 90?
30, 60,
It's a 30, 60, 90. So even though they don't put 30 here, we could figure out that that was 30. Okay, so which box am I going to look at? The second box. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 30, 60, 90 triangle box, and they want me to find the value of x and y.
Why is it not hypotenuse?
Y is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle, and then x. Is x the shorter leg or the longer leg? It's the shorter leg. So I'm going to go ahead and label that as the shorter leg. Okay. So what do I know about a 30, 60, 90? I know that the hypotenuse equals what?
It equals 2 times the shorter leg.
It equals 2 times the shorter leg. But do I know what the shorter leg is? Do I know what the hypotenuse is? So can I use this one yet? No. Okay, so what is the other thing I know? I know the longer leg equals what? Shorter leg times the square root of 3. Do I know what the longer leg is?
Yes.
What is it? 9
times the square root of 3.
So I'm just going to write it like that, 9 times the square root of 3. Okay, now do I know what the shorter leg is? No, but what variable is that? So I'm going to put x times the square root of 3. Now what's being done to x? What's the opposite of multiplying by the square root of 3? Dividing by the square root of 3. If I divide both sides by the square root of 3, what happens? What are you left with? 9. So guess what x equals? Or guess what the shorter leg equals? 9. Did I need my calculator?
Oh, it actually kind of does work on the calculator.
Right, but you don't have to. You don't have to use it there. Now, can I go back and solve for the hypotenuse? Yeah, because what do I know now? I know the shorter leg, and the hypotenuse equals 2 times the shorter leg. What's the shorter leg? 9. What's 2 times 9? 18. So guess what the hypotenuse is? 18. Okay? So the math behind it is pretty easy. It's just some simple addition, not addition, simple multiplication and simple division. Okay? What you have to know is how to apply the information. Now look at this triangle. Is it a 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90? 30, 60, 90. So we're going to use the same information. Now, what do we know? Do we know the hypotenuse, the shorter leg, or the longer leg?
We know the hypotenuse.
We know the hypotenuse. How do you know it's the hypotenuse? Because it's opposite the right angle. Now, is x the shorter leg or the longer leg? It's the shorter leg. And is y the shorter or the longer leg? Okay? So, I'm going to use this information. I know that the hypotenuse equals 2 times the shorter leg. Do I know the length of the hypotenuse?
Yes.
What is it?
8 feet.
So 8 equals 2 times what?
X.
Right. So what's being done to x?
It's being multiplied.
What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? What's 8 divided by 2? 4. So the shorter leg equals 4. Now, can I find the longer leg? What do you know about the longer leg? The longer leg equals what? The shorter leg times the square root of 3. Gotta look. I'm not gonna look. Gotta look. So the longer leg equals the shorter leg times 3. Do I know what the shorter leg is?
Yes.
It's what?
It is 4.
4. So now all I gotta do is take 4 times the square root of 3. And guess what? You can leave your have to do this is a multi-step problem. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is I'm going to start out with the fact that I know that the longer leg equals what?
The shorter leg.
Okay, the longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Now I know the length of the longer leg. What is it? 115. And that equals x, which is the shorter leg, times the square root of 3. Now, here's where I will have to use my calculator. Alright? Now, what's being done to x? It's being multiplied by what? The square root of 3. So I need to figure out what the square root of 3 is. So I'm going to take 3 square root. And I'm just going to round it to 1.73. So basically, I'm going to add another step into your notes here. So 115 equals 1.73 times what? So now what's being done to x? It's being multiplied by 1.73. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 1.73?
Dividing.
Dividing by
1.73.
And when I take 115 and divide it by 1.73, we'll round it. It equals 66.47. Now, is that what they wanted to know? Did we want to know what the length of the shorter leg is? Or did we want to know the length of the kite string? We wanted to know the length of the kite string. So am I done? Is this my final answer? No. Okay, so now I'm going to have to use the information I know. Go back to your box. What do you know about the hypotenuse and the shorter leg? The hypotenuse equals what? 2 times the shorter leg. Do I know what the length of the shorter leg is?
Yes.
What is it?
66.47.
And now all I have to do is take 66.47 and multiply by 2, and I get what? So my answer, the length of that string is 132.94, and what they said was feet or inches. What does it say?
You guys at 150 feet.
Oh, it does? Okay, so feet. So that kite string is about 132.94 feet. Feet. I think that's it. I think I gave you guys practice A, so let me take a look at it. Okay, so look at numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The directions say give the exact answer. So if it says give the exact answer, they want you to not write your answer in terms of the square root. They want you to go ahead and work it out and round it. So you may want to write, I'll tell you, round to the nearest 10th. So write that on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're going to round to the nearest 10th. And then on 7 and 8, you're going to need to draw a picture. I would go ahead and draw a picture so that you can solve that one. And then look at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. They tell you to give the exact answer, or if they're asking for more than one variable, give the exact answers. So that, go ahead and write out to the side there, round to the nearest 10. Now some of them you're not going to end up needing to use a calculator on because that square root will divide out, kind of like we saw. Okay, so I want you guys to do, there's only 15 problems, and we have about 20 minutes left. So I want you guys to go ahead and do, because you should be able to almost at